Something very important is unfolding right now, and it affects every single person who relies on Social Security, retirees, SSDI, SSI, spousal, survivor, and VA beneficiaries alike. July, August, and September just became the most important months of the entire year for nearly 75 million Americans. Because what happens during these 3 months will directly determine how much your Social Security checks increase or possibly disappoint in the upcoming year. This is not just another inflation report. These next few data points will shape the entire 2026 cost of living adjustment. And already there's a twist that most people haven't seen coming. You might be surprised by the direction this is heading because the numbers just shifted upward. But will it be enough? We'll break it down step by step right now. If you stick with me, here's what you're going to walk away with. You'll know the exact months that matter, what the latest CPI data says, why the estimates have suddenly moved higher, and what your Social Security COLA could actually look like. More importantly, you'll learn how rising costs, from groceries to Medicare premiums, are creating a hidden tug of war that could cancel out even a higher COLA. We're not just going to talk percentages, we're going to talk real life impact. So if you rely on monthly benefits to pay rent, buy food, or cover prescriptions, this will matter to you. Let's ground this in real data. In the most recent Consumer Price Index report, released for the month of June, inflation rose by 3.0% compared to a year earlier. That was slightly higher than expected. But the key metric for Social Security is not overall CPI. It's the CPIW, or Consumer Price Index, for urban wage earners and clerical workers. That index rose by about 2.9% year over year. And that matters because the official cost of living adjustment for Social Security is calculated based strictly on the average CPIW from July, August, and September of this year compared to the same 3 months in the previous year. Right now, preliminary estimates from the Senior Citizens League suggest that the COLA for 2026 could land around 2.8%. That is up from earlier projections of just 2.0% earlier in the year. Why the jump? Tariffs and rising energy prices are playing a major role. Now let's talk about the calendar and why these next 3 months are crucial. The Social Security Administration finalizes the COLA in October based on an average of the CPIW data for July, August, and September. So what happens in July, the numbers that come out in early August, will set the tone. Then August data is released in September, and September's CPI numbers are released in October. At that point, the SSA locks in the COLA, and there's no going back. So we are now officially in the countdown phase. Every month of data from this point forward is a piece of the final formula. Why are prices suddenly heating up again? There are a few forces at play. First, the recent tariffs announced earlier this year have begun impacting consumer goods, especially imports like appliances, electronics, and vehicles. The effects of those tariffs don't show up immediately, but they are now gradually flowing through to final prices. Second, global oil prices have risen, pushing up gasoline and transportation costs. This trickles down to delivery, supply chain fees, and even food prices. And third, some major cities are seeing rising rent inflation again, which feeds directly into CPI numbers. These are not hypothetical trends. They're measurable and they're beginning to shift expectations for the COLA upward. So, where does the COLA stand today based on current projections? According to the most recent estimate from the Senior Citizens League, the COLA for 2026 is now projected to be around 2.8%. This is an increase from earlier projections of about 2.6% and a noticeable jump from the 2% estimate earlier this spring. The trend is moving upward, though we are still far from the 8.7% COLA seen in 2023 or even the 3.2% increase for 2025. Still, this modest rise from 2.0 to 2.8% could mean several $100s per year for the average beneficiary, depending on base benefits. But this is still only a projection, not a guarantee. So when will we know for sure? The July data will be released in early August. August's inflation report comes out in early September. Then the September CPI report is released around mid October. That's when Social Security officially announces the COLA. So if you're wondering when to expect answers, mark your calendar for mid October. That's the official announcement month, and the number will be locked in at that point, no matter what happens after. Now let's talk examples, because this is where it becomes personal. Suppose your current Social Security benefit is $1,800 per month. A 2.8% COLA would add just over $50 to your monthly check. Over the course of a year, that's about $600. Not bad, but let's factor in Medicare. If Part B premiums rise, as they are expected to, and by about $10 to $12 per month, that could immediately eat away nearly a quarter of your COLA increase. For someone receiving lower monthly benefits, the percentage of COLA lost to premiums is even greater. So while a higher COLA sounds good on paper, the real world outcome could feel like running in place, getting a raise only to have it taken by medical costs. And it's important to note, this number can still change. The July CPIW data might come in hotter than expected, which would push the projected COLA even higher. Or if inflation suddenly cools in August or September, it could drop the average. This is a moving target, and even experts acknowledge the uncertainty. That's why estimates are always presented with a range. And this year, the range could be anywhere from 2.5 to 3.1%, depending on how these next few inflation readings shake out. If you're feeling frustrated or confused by all this, you're not alone. Many people wonder why COLA doesn't reflect their actual experience. Groceries, utilities, rent, they've all gone up more than 2 or 3% in the last year. And yet the official formula might not capture your reality. The CPIW is based on a working age population, not seniors. That's part of why many advocacy groups continue to push for the CPIE, or Elder Index, to be used instead. That would better reflect seniors' actual expenses like medical care and housing. But for now, the law mandates CPIW, and we're stuck with it. And here's something else that's been picking up steam lately: talk of a possible acceleration in Medicare Part B premium hikes, not just for 2026, but even into 2027. If inflation continues trending upward from these global and domestic factors, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services may once again reevaluate premium thresholds. What does that mean for you? It means you could be seeing smaller than expected net increases in your Social Security check, even if the COLA turns out to be higher than originally projected. The worst case scenario is that by the time the new COLA kicks in, any gain could be swallowed up by medical inflation or premium increases, leaving fixed income individuals in a tight spot once again. And that's why watching July, August, and September inflation is not just about numbers, it's about your future buying power. These next few months will shape the reality of next year. It could be a turning point for those depending on every dollar of their monthly check. So stay close, because I'll be back the moment more.